The warm breeze on Naboo felt like an illusion. Standing on the balcony of the lake retreat, Anakin Skywalker looked at Padmé Amidala, his heart racing with raw emotion. In another timeline, this was the exact moment they exchanged vows in absolute secrecy, a holy union built on stolen moments, destined to trap them in a web of fear and lies. Padmé stepped forward, her eyes filled with sorrow and quiet strength. She took his mechanical hand, looking straight into his soul. "If we do this, Anakin, we live a lie. The Republic needs you as a Jedi, and the Senate needs me." Anakin felt a sudden pang of grief. Every instinct urged him to hold on, to defy the Jedi Code and run away with the woman he loved. But as he looked out across the shimmering water, he remembered his sacred promise to the Jedi Order. He saw the grim reality of the Clone Wars sweeping across the stars. A secret marriage would not bring peace. It would create a dark shadow he would constantly have to guard. "You're right," Anakin whispered softly, letting out a breath he felt like he had held for years. "We serve something bigger than ourselves." They stood together in total silence as the sun dipped beneath the horizon. There were no rings, no hidden priests, and no whispered promises behind closed doors. They chose mutual respect over hidden passion. Padmé boarded her cruiser back to Coruscant to lead the fight against galactic corruption, while Anakin ignited his fighter's engines toward the Jedi Temple. For the first time in his life, Anakin felt no guilt, no hidden shame, and no terror of being discovered. But as his starfighter jumped into hyperspace, the galaxy plunged deeper into war, and the young knight was about to face a very different kind of test. The Clone Wars raged across dozens of star systems, but the Jedi Order noticed a profound change in the Chosen One. Without the suffocating weight of a secret life, Anakin Skywalker was totally centered. He slept without the torment of hidden nightmares. He fought not out of desperate fear of loss, but out of genuine devotion to protect innocent lives. On the front lines of Christophsis, Ryloth, and Jabiim, Anakin fought alongside General Obi-Wan Kenobi with unmatched precision. When clone troopers fell in battle, Anakin grieved. But he did not spiral into the dark, rage-fueled fury of his past. Instead, he channeled his raw power into flawless tactical discipline. The 501st Legion noticed the difference immediately. Captain Rex saw a commander who was steady, decisive, and calm under fire. Anakin was no longer reckless to prove a point. He was surgical, leading his men from the front without hesitation. In the Jedi Temple, Master Yoda and Mace Windu observed his progress with deep satisfaction. The rash, defiant boy was rapidly maturing into a true pillar of the Order. Yet, across the capital world of Coruscant, someone else was watching Anakin's transformation with growing dread. In the high tower of the Chancellor's executive suite, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine sat in the shadows, reviewing battlefield casualty reports. Palpatine had carefully orchestrated the war to feed Anakin's fear of loss and push him toward the dark side. Now, every subtle seed of doubt the Chancellor tried to plant simply failed to take root. Anakin was completely transparent with his mentors, unshakable in battle and unburdened by guilt. Palpatine steepled his fingers, staring into the neon skyline of Coruscant. The Dark Master realized his master plan was unraveling, and his greatest prize was slipping right out of his grasp. In the private offices of the Senate building, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine poured 2 cups of tea, offering a warm smile to Anakin Skywalker. For 3 long years, Palpatine had carefully nurtured his role as Anakin's wise, fatherly mentor. He had planned to use dark visions of Padmé dying in childbirth to shatter the young Jedi's mind and force him into the arms of the Sith. "You seem distant lately, my boy," Palpatine said smoothly, his voice laced with subtle Force suggestion. "The burdens of the Jedi Council are heavy. Surely you must fear what the future holds for those you care about." Anakin took a sip of his tea, meeting the Chancellor's gaze with calm clarity. "The Force moves as it wills, Chancellor. Master Yoda taught me that fearing the future only blinds us to the present. We cannot control destiny through attachment. Palpatine's eye twitched slightly behind his grandfatherly facade. He leaned forward, probing deeper into the Force, searching for any crack in the young knight's emotional armor. But where he expected to find deep cracks of possessiveness, paranoia, and rage, he found only solid resolve. Anakin respected Senator Amidala as a dear friend and ally, but there was no hidden obsession for the dark side to feed upon. The tragic tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise would mean nothing to a Jedi who had already accepted the natural flow of life and death. Palpatine realized with chilling clarity that his ultimate weapon, the fear of losing Padmé, was completely useless. "A noble sentiment, Anakin," Palpatine replied quietly, forcing a thin smile. But behind the Chancellor's yellow eyes, the ancient hatred of the Sith surged. If Anakin could not be seduced through love and fear, then Darth Sidious would have to break him through sheer, unbridled tragedy. Desperate to crack Anakin's calm exterior, Darth Sidious fed classified Republic intelligence directly to Count Dooku. The trap was set on the jagged volcanic world of Sullust. Anakin and the 501st Legion were dispatched to capture a critical separatist listening post, unaware that thousands of advanced battle droids were lying in wait. When the gunships landed, the killing zone erupted. Heavy artillery shredded Republic lines within seconds. Anakin ignited his blue lightsaber, spinning through waves of blaster fire, deflecting shots and destroying droids by the dozen. But the sheer volume of firepower was overwhelming. Clone troopers fell around him, and a targeted orbital strike cut off their only extraction route. Through the chaos, Anakin reached out through the Force. In the past, this overwhelming slaughter would have triggered his deepest fears, driving him into a blind, bloodthirsty frenzy. He would have blamed the Jedi Council for failing to send reinforcements, just as Sidious intended. Instead, Anakin stood tall as a beacon of light in the smoke. He rallied Captain Rex and the surviving troopers into a tight defensive ring. "Hold the line!" Anakin shouted, his voice ringing with absolute authority. "Trust in each other. We hold until our brothers arrive." For 6 brutal hours, Anakin held the perimeter against impossible odds, protecting his wounded men with relentless endurance. When the smoke finally cleared, Republic gunships led by Obi-Wan Kenobi broke through the atmosphere, tearing the droid army apart from above. Obi-Wan landed beside his former apprentice, offering an outstretched hand. Anakin took it, exhausted, but completely intact. Sidious's engineered bloodbath had failed to turn Anakin against his masters. In fact, it had done the exact opposite. It had forged an unbreakable bond of trust between Anakin Skywalker and the Jedi High Council. Back at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, the mood was tense. Anakin stood before the giant panoramic windows of the High Council chamber, watching the endless stream of speeders in the sky. He reviewed the flight data and tactical transmissions from the ambush on Sullust over and over again. The tactical leaks had come directly from the highest levels of Republic administration. In another timeline, Anakin would have kept this discovery buried, terrified that digging into Senate affairs might expose his forbidden marriage to Padmé. He would have distanced himself from the Council, allowing Palpatine to whisper toxic lies into his ear. Instead, Anakin walked directly into Master Mace Windu's private chambers, where Obi-Wan Kenobi was already waiting. "Master Windu, Master Obi-Wan," Anakin began, setting the encrypted datapad on the table. "The Separatist forces on Sullust knew our exact drop coordinates hours before we arrived. This intelligence didn't leak from a field officer. It came from inside the Chancellor's inner circle." Mace Windu leaned forward, his piercing eyes narrowing with grave concern. "You are certain of this, Skywalker?" "I am," Anakin answered firmly. "The Chancellor has been asking me to bypass Council oversight. He has tried to drive a wedge between us for months. I believe the dark presence clouding the Force is centered directly around Palpatine." Obi-Wan placed a supportive hand on Anakin's shoulder, nodding in solemn agreement. Our senses have warned us of the same shadow, Anakin, but we needed undeniable proof. You have brought us the truth." Mace Windu stood, his purple lightsaber gleaming at his belt. The Jedi Order was no longer fractured from within. For the first time in centuries, the Council and the Chosen One were moving in perfect harmony toward a single objective. The blast doors to the Chancellor's private suite hissed open. Mace Windu stepped inside, flanked by Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Agen Kolar, and Anakin Skywalker. The air inside the Grand Office was thick with the suffocating stench of the dark side. Palpatine sat behind his massive desk, his eyes darting toward Anakin with calculated expectation. "Master Windu, Master Skywalker, I take it General Grievous has been defeated? In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you are under arrest, Chancellor," Mace Windu declared, igniting his amethyst blade. The other masters drew their lightsabers in unison. Palpatine sneered, rising from his chair as a crimson blade snapped to life in his sleeve. "Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?" "The Senate will decide your fate," Windu replied. "I am the Senate," Palpatine hissed. With a terrifying screech, the Sith Lord launched across the desk in a red blur. Within seconds, Tiin, Kolar, and Fisto fell to Sidious's ferocious strikes. But as the Dark Lord turned to isolate Windu, Anakin leaped into the fray. The blue and purple blades crossed in perfect synchronization, forcing the Sith Lord back toward the shattered window. Backed against the edge of the abyss, Palpatine unleashed a violent storm of Force lightning. "Anakin, help me!" Sidious shrieked desperately. "I have the power to conquer the galaxy. Join me, and we will rule the stars together." Anakin looked down at the twisted creature before him. There were no visions of Padmé dying. There was no desperate bargain for forbidden power. There was only a tyrant who had murdered trillions for ego and dominion. "You have lost, Chancellor," Anakin said, his voice ringing with absolute clarity. "I am a Jedi." With a powerful sweep of his lightsaber, Anakin redirected the crimson blade of Darth Sidious away from Mace Windu. The combined might of the Chosen One and the greatest duelist in the Jedi Order proved too much for the Sith Lord. Windu shattered Palpatine's guard, disarming him, while Anakin used the Force to push the tyrant against the wall. Realizing his defeat, Sidious tried to summon one final desperate burst of Force lightning, but Anakin and Windu struck in unison, their blades bringing a swift, decisive end to Darth Sidious. The Dark Lord of the Sith fell silent, tumbling out into the endless depths of Coruscant's underworld. The battle was over, but the danger was far from finished. Anakin immediately rushed to the Chancellor's private terminal. With help from Temple Slicers and Republic technicians, they decrypted Palpatine's highest-level security archives. Within minutes, a horrifying secret was laid bare: Order 66. A contingency command embedded in the organic inhibitor chips of every single clone trooper across the galaxy, designed to force them to execute the Jedi. Commander Cody, Captain Rex. Anakin broadcasted across all high-priority Republic command frequencies. Override code Alpha 09. The Chancellor was a Sith Lord. Do not execute any executive emergency orders. I repeat, stand down. Because Anakin had exposed the plot before Palpatine could send the signal, the Jedi Purge was completely averted. Across the galaxy, Jedi generals and their clone troopers stood down in safety. Obi-Wan Kenobi arrived at the Senate building, wrapping an arm around Anakin's shoulder as medics secured the scene. The war was officially ending. The Sith were destroyed, and the Republic was saved. But now came the hardest challenge of all: fixing a galaxy broken by war. The Grand Chamber of the Jedi High Council was filled with bright morning light. Anakin Skywalker stood in the center of the mosaic floor, surrounded by Master Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. There was no tension, no mistrust, and no dark shadows lingering in the corners. Mace Windu stepped forward, his expression filled with deep pride and respect. "Anakin Skywalker, by your courage, your clarity, and your loyalty to the light. You have fulfilled the ancient prophecy. You have brought balance to the Force." Yoda tapped his Geimer stick on the stone floor, a warm smile spreading across his aged face. "A master of the Jedi Order, we name you. Guide the next generation, you will." Anakin bowed deeply, accepting the mantle he had worked so hard to achieve. He had conquered his inner demons, not by giving in to forbidden attachments, but by mastering himself. Under his leadership alongside Obi-Wan, the Jedi Order reformed its rigid ways, learning to teach emotional understanding and compassion rather than cold emotional detachment. Over in the Senate Rotunda, applause thundered across thousands of hovering pods. Senator Padmé Amidala was elected the new Supreme Chancellor of the Republic. Her first act was the demilitarization of the Grand Army, granting the clone troopers full Republic citizenship and free will. From the balcony of the executive office, Chancellor Amidala looked out toward the gleaming Jedi Temple. Anakin stood on the high spire, watching over the city with peace in his heart. They had sacrificed a personal life together, but their shared devotion had saved countless trillions of lives. The Republic was reborn. The Jedi were whole, and a new era of genuine peace had finally begun across the galaxy.